Here's a disturbing fact. Scientists estimate that up to 95% of your brain's activity happens completely below your awareness. That means nearly every decision you make, every reaction you have, every person you judge is being driven by a part of your mind you can't even see. And here's what's even more unsettling. That anger you felt last week, that relationship pattern you keep repeating, the reason you explode when someone corrects you in public, none of that started recently. It started when you were a baby, and it has been running your life ever since. Over 100 years ago, a man named Sigmund Freud figured this out, and what he discovered changed psychology forever. Today, we're going to break down Freud's Iceberg Model, and by the end of this video, you will never look at your own behavior the same way again. Okay, so let's start with an image. Picture an iceberg floating in the middle of the ocean, massive, ancient, and mostly hidden. What you see above the water, that's your conscious mind. Your thoughts, your opinions, your daily snap judgments, all of that lives right here at the surface. This is where you make sense of the world. You see someone act rudely, and your conscious mind fires up a conclusion. That person is a bad person. You hear a new idea, and you immediately decide, agree or disagree. But here's the tricky part. Most of us live entirely at this surface level. We scroll through life, forming opinions, making snap judgments, reacting to what people say and what people do without ever asking why. And this is where we become hypocrites without even knowing it. Think about this for a second. We judge other people by their actions, but we want to be understood by our intentions. When you make a mistake, you want people to know what you meant. But when someone else makes a mistake, we don't ask about intentions. We just label them good, bad, done. That contradiction lives at the surface, and there is so much more underneath. Just beneath the waterline lives something Freud called the preconscious mind. This is where your memories live, your stored knowledge, your fears, and, this one might surprise you, your morality. Here's how it works in real life. You're sitting in a lecture, and someone presents an idea in a way that conflicts with how you were taught before. Your brain doesn't just evaluate the new idea, it runs it against everything you've already believed. If it matches, great, you accept it. If it clashes, you reject it. Not because the idea is wrong, but because your memory won't let it in. We are what scientists call meaning-making machines. We don't experience reality directly. We filter reality through the stories we've already told ourselves. And that filter was largely built in childhood. This is why two people can watch the exact same event and walk away with completely opposite interpretations. It's not the event that's different. It's the memory bank they're running it through. Now, we go to the part nobody wants to talk about. The 90% of the iceberg you cannot see. The unconscious mind. This is where Freud got controversial. And this is where it gets fascinating. Deep in your unconscious live your irrational beliefs. The ones you've never examined. The ones you've carried since infancy. Things like, I must never be wrong. I must never be seen as weak. I must never feel shame again. Freud argued that when a deep-rooted belief gets challenged, the response doesn't come from logic. It comes from survival. People don't just disagree, they get angry. They shut down. They lash out. And they don't even know why. Here's the reason. Shame is one of the earliest emotions we experience as infants. When we're completely helpless, completely dependent as babies, that helplessness registers in our brain as shame. So later in life, when an adult corrects us or challenges us, that ancient wound reopens. And we don't react as adults. We react as that scared, ashamed infant who just wants to protect itself. That's not weakness. That's neuroscience. That's Freud's iceberg in action. So here's the real takeaway. The journey of self-awareness isn't about being smarter. It's not about forming better opinions. It's about being brave enough to go deeper, to examine the beliefs you built as a child and ask yourself, are these still serving me? Freud once said that unexplored minds are not free minds, and the evidence backs him up. Studies on cognitive behavioral therapy, which is built on this very model, show effectiveness rates of 60 to 80% in treating anxiety, depression, and behavioral disorders. All of that by surfacing and rewriting those unconscious patterns. You've just seen the iceberg, but the question now is, are you willing to dive in? If this gave you a new perspective on how your mind really works, like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Tell me, which layer of the iceberg do you think runs your life the most? Thanks for watching, and see you in the next briefing.